The Montana winds howled through the snow-covered forest as Michael Thompson clutched his 12-year-old daughter's hand. They walked hurriedly, trying to get home before the snowstorm hit. Their 3 shepherd dogs ran ahead, guiding the H through the thick snow. That's when the lead dog suddenly stopped. Its ears perked up, nose pointing toward a fallen tree. Without a bark, it rushed toward it, the other 2 dogs following behind. Luna cried out, pointing to where the dogs were gathering around something. Michael approached, his heart beating faster as he saw what the largest dog was examining. A tiny bobcat, kitten, nearly motionless, its fur stained with blood. The bobcat kitten breathed weakly, its cloudy blue eyes blinking in pain. Michael knelt in the snow, removed his gloves, and placed his warm hand on the tiny creature. He looked around and saw blood trails leading to the deeper forest where its mother might have been poached. Signs of an illegal trap glinted beneath a nearby snow drift. Michael was a biologist, well aware that interfering with wildlife often did more harm than good. But in the approaching storm with temperatures dropping below freezing, this kitten had no chance of survival. Surprisingly, the 3 dogs showed no aggression. Instead, the lead dog gently licked the kitten's head, a protective behavior rarely seen toward what would normally be considered a rival predator. Rebecca, Michael's wife and a veterinarian, was displeased at seeing the wild animal in their home, but quickly switched to professional mode. She examined the bobcat kitten, severely hypothermic and malnourished. After stabilizing its condition, she placed it in a box, lined with blankets in the kitchen, certain it wouldn't survive the night. But the next morning they discovered the unthinkable. The kitten had not only survived, but was surrounded by the 3 shepherd dogs, forming a protective circle around it. The lead dog lay closest to its large body, providing warmth throughout the night. Luna named it Scout because it would need to learn how to survive. The snowstorm became one of the heaviest snowfalls in Montana. History, roads were blocked. Communication with the wildlife conservation department became impossible. During this time, Scout not only survived but thrived. And then the strange began to happen. After just 2 weeks, Scout began showing unusual behaviors. The bobcat kitten didn't move like a typical cat. It mimicked the confident, powerful gait of the shepherd dogs. When the lead dog sat watching the room, Scout sat beside it, copying its posture exactly. Michael began documenting these behaviors. Each day, Scout absorbed more canine behaviors. The kitten would come when, called an extremely rare trait in wild cats. It played chase with the youngest dog, learned to pull toys, and even attempted to bark, making a strange sound between a growl and a hiss. For months passed and Scout developed into a healthy young bobcat with unique behavioral traits. It woke up with the 3 dogs, ate with them, and even learned to patrol the farm boundaries as the lead dog had taught it. At night, Scout slept curled up among the 3 dogs as if they were one family. Scout combined its natural bobcat instincts, extraordinary climbing ability, acute hearing, and lightning-fast reflexes, with the behavior and loyalty of shepherd dogs. The result was a unique creature, both wild and tame, both cat and dog. Luna took videos of Scout and posted them on social media. The bobcat, who thought it was a dog, quickly became a local phenomenon. People began visiting the farm, curious about the strange creature they had heard about. When the roads were finally cleared, Ranger Martinez came to visit, responding to reports of an illegally kept bobcat. He was surprised to see Scout responding to its name and behaving like a dog. But the law was the law. Keeping wildlife without a permit is illegal. In Montana, he reminded them, Michael applied for a special wildlife keeping permit. While waiting, Scout continued to develop alongside its dog brothers. The bobcat was now partially grown with more distinct spotted markings and a stronger build, but its behavior remain an odd mixture of the two species. 2 months later, the answer came. The application was denied. The Wildlife Conservation Department demanded that Scout be surrendered for reintroduction to the wild. Luna posted an emotional video online, attracting millions of views and national attention. Under public pressure, the Conservation Department agreed to send a team of experts to evaluate Scout's case before making a final decision. The department, director, a zoologist, and Ranger Martinez spent a day observing Scout, how it moved, interacted with dogs and humans, and responded to signals. They were amazed by the bobcat's level of adaptation. This is a special case, the department director admitted, but the law has no exceptions. The bobcat is a wild animal. It belongs in its natural environment. The zoologist agreed that Scout was too domesticated to survive in the wild. Instead of taking it to a lifetime facility, they proposed a middle ground. Scout would be taken to a wilderness area 100 m from the farm with a GPS collar for tracking. If it could adapt to wildlife, it would be free. If not, they would consider other options. The day of separation came too quickly. Luna cried incessantly. Rebecca prepared a special food bag sufficient for 2 weeks, though she knew Scout needed to learn to hunt. Michael attached the GPS collar to the bobcat, his hands trembling as he stroked its thick fur one last time. But the most heartbreaking reaction came from the 3 dogs. When Scout was placed in the transport cage, they whined and barked continuously, trying to prevent the rangers from taking it. The lead dog stood firm like a wall before the car door, moving only when Michael commanded. At the release site, a lush valley with a nearby stream, they opened the cage door. Scout stepped out cautiously, sniffing the new air. It looked into the forest, then turned back to look at Michael and Luna. For a moment, it seemed it would not leave. Then a sound in the bushes caught its attention. Wild instinct took over, and Scout dashed toward the sound with the speed and grace of a true predator. In an instant, it disappeared into the forest. Luna sobbed in her parents' arms. On the way home, the GPS tracking screen blinked, showing Scout moving deeper into the forest. "It will be fine," Michael whispered, trying to believe his own words. "This is where it belongs." But when they returned to the farm, the 3 dogs refused to enter the house. They sat on the porch, eyes fixed toward the distant hills where Scout had disappeared. A week passed since Scout was released. Luna checked the GPS data hourly, tracking every movement of the bobcat. Initially, Scout seemed to be adapting, moving cautiously through new territory, seeking shelter and water sources. At home, the 3 dogs fell into a deep depression. They refused to eat, wouldn't play, and spent hours sitting on the highest hill of the farm, eyes never leaving the direction where Scout had disappeared. On the 10th night, the GPS data showed a strange change. Scout stopped at a high point on a hillside. It stayed there for nearly 24 hours, barely moving. Michael worried it was injured or sick. But then, at sunset the next day, Scout began moving in the direction of the farm. Day by day, Scout's movement pattern became clearer. It wasn't wandering randomly. It was moving with purpose homeward. Initially, its journey was slow and interrupted. Many times, it stopped to hunt or rest. But after each stop, it always continued in the same direction. Michael calculated the distance. Scout had covered 30 miles in the first 5 days, faster than the average for wild bobcats moving through new territory. "This can't just be coincidence," he told Rebecca as they looked at the data together. "It's finding its way home." The GPS revealed the challenging journey Scout faced. On the 6th day, it approached a wide river where spring had made the water high and fast flowing. A normal bobcat would avoid deep water at all costs. But Scout, taught by dogs who weren't afraid of water, found a narrower point and swam across. On day 7, Scout faced a busy highway. The GPS showed it waiting, hiding in bushes, near the roadside for nearly 3 hours. Then, in a gap between, traffic. It darted across in a flash. Each obstacle Scout overcame: rivers, highways, human settlements, even territories of other bobcats astonished the Thompson family. The Bible of bobcat behavior states that bobcats don't migrate such distances, especially not in a specific direction over such a long journey. On the 12th night, the worst happened. The GPS signal stopped completely. The last recorded position was an area of large rocks and dense trees about 40 m from a farm. Michael and Luna immediately drove to the location. They searched for a full day, calling Scout's name, checking every rock cave and thicket. No sign of the bobcat except a broken piece of the GPS collar strap. Oh, caught on a low branch. Michael imagined what might have happened. Scout got caught, struggled to free itself, and damaged the collar in the process. But would it continue the journey, or was it injured, or worse? The next 3 days were long, painful days of waiting and fragile hope. Luna was so desperate she barely left her room. Rebecca contacted every ranger station and veterinary hospital within a 100-mile radius. Michael kept studying maps, trying to predict Scout's possible route. He calculated that if Scout maintained its speed and direction before the signal was lost, it could reach the far within 2 to 3 more days, assuming it wasn't injured. It's first saved it in the cold environment, but it needs food and water. He analyzed, and it has to avoid larger predators, wolves, bears, even humans. The truth was Scout's chances of survival diminished with each passing hour. On the 3rd night since losing the signal, as the family was trying to have dinner in a heavy mood, the 3 dogs suddenly jumped up as if electrocuted. The lead dog ran to the door, barking furiously, the other 2 following, tails wagging in excitement. Michael hurriedly opened the door, his heart pounding. Standing at the edge of the yard in the moonlight was a small, slender figure, Scout dirty, thinner and without the GPS collar, but alive, and it was looking straight at the house. Later, when analyzing Scout's journey based on partial GPS data and distance calculations, Michael estimated that Scout had crossed at least 100 miles of varied terrain, 2 major rivers, 1 main highway, a human settlement, several territories of other bobcats, and all within about 16 days when it was just reaching maturity. Experts later tried to explain this behavior from geomagnetic positioning, abilities to exceptionally develop terrain memory, to unusual migratory instincts. But for the Thompson family, the only explanation needed was love. Scout hadn't returned to a place. It had returned to its family. The moment Scout saw the 3 dogs, its entire demeanor changed. It rushed forward, no longer with the cautious movement of a wild bobcat, but with the excited sprint of a dog reuniting with family. The 3 dogs ran to meet it, and all 4 animals met in a rolling bundle of joyful sounds and wet fur. Luna sobbed, running out and kneeling beside them. Michael and Rebecca followed, unable to believe their eyes. Scout the wild bobcat had found its way back over 100 m of unfamiliar terrain, following a straight line to the only home it had ever known. They brought Scout inside, where Rebecca immediately examined it. The bobcat had lost weight, had a small wound on its front leg, possibly from where the collar had caught on something, and it had struggled to break free, but otherwise it was remarkably healthy. After the long journey, Michael called Ranger Martinez, who came over first thing the next morning, unable to believe what he was seeing. "This doesn't happen," he muttered, watching Scout curled up among the 3 dogs as if it had never left. "Bobots don't do this. They don't move such distances just to return to a specific place, and they certainly don't seek out the company of other species." Luna knelt beside. Scout, stroking its fur. It doesn't think it's a Bobcat. It thinks it's part of this family. Martinez looked at Michael and Rebecca. I need to report this. You know, they'll want to take it away again, probably. Farther this time. But as Martinez looked into Scout's eyes, wild yellow eyes, but filled with unmistakable attachment, he sighed. I'll propose another option. No, promises. But there's never been a case like this before. 2 weeks later, the director of the Wildlife Conservation Department personally returned to the Thompson farm. She observed Scout in his environment, chasing with the youngest dog, patrolling boundaries with the lead dog, and sleeping curled up beside all three. What we are seeing here challenges everything we understand about animal behavior. She admitted, Scout is no longer an ordinary bobcat, but it's not a pet either. The final decision came a month later. A special, unprecedented type of permit would be issued to the Thompson family. Scout was allowed to stay, provided it would be part of a long-term study on animal behavior and interspecies social bonding. The family had to build a spacious outdoor area for Scout, and the 3 dogs allowed periodic inspections and participate in public education programs. Michael and Rebecca agreed immediately. Luna jumped with joy. A year later, the Thompson farm became a small attraction where groups of students and researchers could observe Scout and its dog brothers. Michael had published a scientific paper on this unique case. Luna, now 14, had decided to become a zoologist, and Scout the Bobcat had fully developed with all the wild beauty and power of its species. But as it sat on a high rock in its area, watching over the farm with the same vigilant posture as the lead dog, no one could deny that it found exactly where it belonged. Scout's extraordinary journey from a dying bobcat kitten to a unique creature living between 2 worlds had proven a simple but profound truth. Sometimes love and attachment can be stronger than even natural instinct, and family in the deepest sense is not where you are born, but where you are loved and belong.